By the end of this video, you will never think of Master Roshi the same way. About a week ago, I posted a theory on why Roshi refuses to learn how to fly. There are some opinions in the comments, so let's break it down. To repeat the theory, Roshi has a lot in common with another Toriyama character named Tang Tong. Oh yeah, and Tang Tong has dragon wings. They both look the same and are hermit martial artists. Tang Tong studied under a master named Roshi who rode a Nimbus Cloud and had a staff just like the one our Roshi would have one day. I claim Dragon Boy is Roshi's secret origin story in that it follows a young hermit who eventually goes on to take his master's name to carry on his legacy, and sometime during his adventures would lose his dragon wings and ability to fly in one way or another, which is why anytime we see old man Roshi with a shirt off, he has bandages covering the place on his back the wings once were. The Master Roshi we know and the Master Roshi from Dragon Boy also have the same mannerisms as if they spent a lot of time around each other. Almost like Tang Tong is Kid Roshi and this new so-called Master Roshi was possibly his first mentor. On the subject of names, Roshi isn't a name but a title. It comes from Toriyama thinking Kame-Sennin or Turtle Hermit wasn't grandiose enough, so he came up with Mutant Roshi. I also want to point out how Encyclopedia Mythica states, for Sennin, the immortal spirit of a saint living in the mountains in Japanese mythology. And we see Tang Tong live in the mountains, but that's not exactly what our Master Roshi is known for. Anyway, Master Roshi is a mistranslation of Mutant Roshi. The short version is, more or less, Mu means martial or warlike, Ten means heaven or celestial, and Roshi means old master or venerable teacher. So when they say Master Roshi, what you should really hear is old heavenly martial arts master. Alas, here is where I want to point something out that I got wrong in the short. The Viz translation of Dragon Boy has a giant error. They call this man Master Roshi, but in Japanese it doesn't read Mutant Roshi, but Go Roshi-sama, which means venerable master. Just hold on to this for now because we're going to track back to it at the end of the video. Early in the series, Ox King tells Chi-Chi to find Mutant Roshi, and Roshi confirms that is what's written on his driver's license. So I'd argue in the real world it's a title, but in Dragon Ball where names get a little strange, it's apparently used as his legal name unless Ox told Chi-Chi his real name but for some reason they never say it out loud. Heavenly Martial Arts Master is what would allegedly be written on his ID in this panel. But didn't he used to go by Kame-Sennin or Turtle Hermit? When and why did he change it as a character? Moving forward, the big reveal of this theory was that Tang Tong had dragon wings and he lost them in one way or another. This is backed up by the bandages old man Roshi always puts on his back where the wings used to be. Some people have said they're not bandages but icy strips, which could hurt or help my argument if he's, well, an amputee. One study claims the menthol produced analgesia in some amputees but cold allodynia, or pain from cool sensations, in others. Others have argued that Go Roshi couldn't have been Roshi's master because his real mentor is Mutaito, the warrior who used the Mafuba to trap King Piccolo. As we see throughout Dragon Ball, fighters often have multiple teachers. For instance, Goku has Grandpa Gohan, Master Roshi, King Kai, Whis, and so on. Speaking of Mutaito, Roshi wasn't his only student. He also had a promising protege by the name of Shen or Surusenin, or Crane Hermit. He would go on to found the Crane School while Roshi founded the Turtle School. Shen developed techniques like the Dodonpa and Skydance, what would later be just known as flight. While it was rare at the time, it's pretty much become a necessity to learn now. Given Roshi's wisdom, I think it's fair to say if he wanted to learn, I think he could probably do so almost immediately. If Videl could figure it out, barely understanding the concept of ki, I think he'd do fine. Now that I think of it, technically isn't Puar the first character we see pull off this technique. Admittedly, this is just speculation on my part. There's no smoking gun where Roshi outright says, "I refuse to learn how to fly because of this!" But Roshi's a pretty competitive guy, especially when it comes to Shen as we see them arguing at the World Tournament immediately after reuniting after many years. I don't think he'd give the Crane Hermit the satisfaction of stealing a technique he beat him to the punch on. While it's accepted Shen was the first human to master flight, what about non-humans? After all, in one panel, Roshi tells us how he got the flying Nimbus from Kami-sama himself. However, the only person we ever see handing out flying clouds is Korin, who Roshi trained with for 3 years trying to obtain the sacred water. I couldn't find any evidence to suggest that they ever met before the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament. Though Korin does mention how the Noibo was originally meant to connect the Earth and Sanctuary, and lent it to Roshi not thinking anyone would need it. Not anybody else, just anybody, including Roshi. So I don't think he met Kami either. At least not the Namekian one. Kami isn't a proper name either. It's another title meaning God. According to Daizenshu 7, he had been the Guardian of Earth for over 300 years. But wait, isn't Roshi, because he and presumably Shen drank the immortal elixir, older than 300? The Dragon Ball Wiki timeline actually puts Roshi's training with Korin around 11 years before Kami would split from Piccolo and take over as Guardian. So was it the previous Guardian of Earth he meant? Or did he mistake Korin for this role? Or was he just being hyperbolic? Maybe it was a gift from God because it allowed him to fly again after losing his wings. I gotta go with this reasoning because even the editors note the Viz translation claims Kami means another worldly power of obscure origin and suggests the meaning is more figurative than literal. To further push this idea, Korin confirms he was the one who gave it to him in chapter 153. And given his surprise during his introduction when he falls right through the thing, this must mean he was actually able to write it the last time he tried. Again, completely headcanon, but it's possible since Roshi was given the Nimbus, he himself never saw the reason to develop flight as a technique, and Shen's mastery of it came out of necessity. Perhaps when the two of them meant to train under Mutaito, Shen was furious Roshi could just use some clout and sought to outdo him.
Power comes in response to a need, not a desire.
This is an anime-only scene, by the way, but it was too good to leave out of the situation. On the topic of anime-only, there isn't a single instance in the manga that seems to suggest Roshi once had hair. At one point, he tells Krillin he doesn't shave his head, he's just bald, but this doesn't mean he's always been bald. On the other hand, anime Roshi is a confirmed dead ringer for Tangtong. The anime goes out of its way on multiple occasions to not only claim Roshi used to have hair, but it happens so often you'd think it's something Toriyama would have corrected him on if he really wanted Roshi to be bald by birth. Once more, this is just speculation. And unfortunately, headcanon is not canon. Until it is. Broly was a non-canon movie character who couldn't fit into the timeline. Though done in a creative way, now he does. Vegeta couldn't or wouldn't go Super Saiyan 3, until he did. Alibu was an anime-only filler character and not an actual hero. Then Super changed that. I'm sure a lot more examples come to mind. My argument isn't if this was all planned from the start. We'd already know if it was. But if it could work. If you look at how much has changed about the Dragon world as the story's gone on, there are few stories with canon with such a state of fluidity as Dragon Ball. We might as well call it water canon at this point. Along with Alibu, the Grand Kai was also once anime only, then Piccolo mentions him in the manga. Gregory used to be anime only, but not only did Toriyama design him, he seems to have really liked the concept because he allowed Toyotaro to include him in a Dragon Ball Super promo, and the Return of Son Goku and his friends special. While Koyama wrote it and Naho illustrated it, Toriyama still signed off on it. So would it be too crazy to believe anime Roshi could become manga Roshi? I'll let you decide. Is it probable or possible Tangtong is just prototype Goku and his master is just prototype Roshi? Yeah. Is it possible Roshi's alleged icy hot bandages are just a joke about him being old? Yeah. Is it possible Toei just took an older Toriyama design and used it in the anime because they thought it'd make a cool Easter egg? Absolutely. But I ask you this, with all the evidence presented, could Tangtong's story fit into Master Roshi's backstory? Freaking yes! Easily even! Tangtong begins his journey training under the martial arts hermit known simply as Go Roshi, or Teacher. As part of his training, he's sent on his first mission to escort a princess. Years pass and Roshi has become a father to Tangtong. But the time has come. Roshi has taught him everything he knows. It's time for Tangtong to study under Go Roshi's former mentor and venture to the mythical Korin's Tower. It'll be a long, perilous adventure. He'll face many challenges along the way. But once he completes this task, he'll be rewarded with a sacred water, a mysterious gourd that'll improve his power exponentially. Go Roshi decides to simply omit whether he himself managed to obtain it. He did get another helpful item though. Perhaps Korin will gift him something too one day. Initially, Tangtong thinks it'll be a piece of cake, but not long later, his wings will be taken from him in a fierce battle. Undeterred, the student pushes on, determined this loss will only make him stronger. Months pass, then years. To continue learning, he even gains a new master by the name of Mutaito. Eventually, possibly the fire ignited by being encouraged by a beautiful woman named Fanfan, who promised to help him become a great martial artist. He continued the quest Go Roshi assigned to him. And it would take another 3 years, but Tangtong is finally able to climb the tower, catch Korin, and obtain the sacred water. Little did he know until now it was mere tap water. The real reward is how much he improved along the way. As Korin would do one day with Goku, he looks into Tangtong's heart. He sees everything he's been through to make it this far. Namely, the void left within him since his wings were taken. Korin can't give those back, but he can do something close, gifting him the flying Nimbus and the ability to fly once more. Ecstatic, Tangtong rushes back to the mountains to inform his master of the news. But he's been with Korin for 3 years, and the journey to get here on foot wasn't a short one either. In his old age, Roshi has passed on. Devastated, this is the first time Tangtong has felt not just a personal loss, but the loss of a loved one. Not only does this plant the seed that one day, when he's deserving of such, to honor his master, he will bestow upon himself the title of Roshi, of teacher. He too will become a venerable master of martial arts. Not only that, in his grief he vows to become the best. He won't stop at Go Roshi-sama, but will earn a title even more grandiose. Muten Roshi, the heavenly martial arts master. The one who will reach the heavens in spite of losing his wings, not because of them. His journey doesn't end with Korin's tower. He will take on the most impossible ventures known to mankind. He will find the immortal elixir and the immortal phoenix. He will continue to train and become the warrior Roshi wanted him to be. Until then, he'll take a symbol, one to represent his goal of longevity, of agelessness, the turtle. From here on and until he becomes a master himself, with one goal, he will be known simply as the Turtle Hermit. So by the time the story of Dragon Ball as we know it begins, Roshi has long succeeded in his journey and we've only arrived at the end. Without anything else to achieve, Roshi fell back into mortal indulgences. And with his adventures so far behind, such a distant memory, he didn't even know the Nimbus would reject him upon first meeting Goku. He had used it that seldomly. This is why Ox and Gohan refer to him as Old Heavenly Martial Arts Master and not Kame Sennin, as the latter he only used as a student, such as when he trained under Mutaito. Why in Dragon Ball Super he stands on the edge of Korin's tower before remembering he can't fly anymore, be it his wings or the last time he trained here when he took off on the Flying Nimbus for the first time. Stack that with all the aforementioned similarities, coincidences, and missing lore that seem to line up so well. Tangtong may or may not just be a relic of Toriyama's early sketches, but maybe a better representation is he's the ghost of where Dragon Ball began. Before power levels, before aliens, before gods of destruction, just a lone hermit chasing enlightenment, going on adventures, and learning that strength doesn't mean having a natural advantage over your opponent. If our Roshi really is that same child, then his refusal to fly isn't just stubbornness, it's symbolism, it's acceptance. When he lost his wings, Korin granted him a Nimbus cloud to restore what he had lost. That cloud was a gift, not a birthright. It represented mercy, not mastery. Flying again after tragedy was part of his healing, but also a reminder that his natural gift was gone forever. So years later, when he chooses not to fly, or rarely does so in a profoundly uncomfortable way as if to make a point like when he uses Baby Gamera, it's him rejecting dependence on that substitute power. It's him saying, I no longer need what was taken from me to feel whole. On that beach all those years ago when Goku was just a kid, it had been ages since he last bothered getting on that cloud. It's not just defiance and pride that he defies Shen and his technique. Amidst his long journey, he's learned the ultimate martial principle, to let go of attachment. It's the final stage of his lifelong journey from being a winged boy chasing the heavens to a grounded sage who no longer needs wings. What we didn't realize at the time, as innocuous as it seemed, our first introduction to Roshi was him finally letting go for good, the thing that began his healing in the first place. And that, to me, is what makes Dragon Ball so endlessly fascinating. There's this line between myth, retcon, and even headcanon that's always been so paper thin. Because in this world, even discarded ideas can come back to life, many as legends, even if only at first appearing to be a shell of who they used to be.